Hi everyone, this is Bob with another audio tutorial. This time we're going to take a look at sidechain compression, and more specifically, how I use this technique to control a guitar track for my latest song, Playing for You. Now there are several ways to use a compressor. I can make things quieter with it, I can make things louder, or I can use it as an effect like a pumping effect in an EDM track. Now, most folks think of a compressor as a way to make something louder, but at its core, a compressor really makes something quieter. When you set the threshold and ratio, you're telling the compressor to turn down the volume when the signal passes that threshold, and turn it down by the amount specified in the ratio. It could be 3-to-1, 5-to-1, 10-to-1, whatever. So how is it that we make something louder by making it quieter? Well, let's take a look at a couple of graphics. So the first graphic I have pulled up here is the uncompressed signal. We'll just, this is a stereo file, so we'll just look at the, from this horizontal line and above here, and we can see that here's the threshold, and since I don't have the compressor on yet, the signal is going above that threshold, and it's almost up here to the max line, so I'm almost clipping, or I'm right at maybe 0 dB. And my next graphic shows the compressed signal. So once I get above the threshold, you see the threshold is here. Once I get above the threshold, now the compressor kicks in and it's knocking this level down. So I'm reducing the dynamic range. So what's happening is the loudest peak is being knocked down. The quieter parts of this signal, since it's below the threshold, remains unchanged. Now my third graphic shows us using makeup gain to make up what we lost here. So we bring it back up to 0 dB, and you see what happened is now the quieter parts, if you look at the distance from this floor here to the quieter parts, you can see that it's louder. And so my dynamic range has been reduced, but the overall track now is louder. So basically what I've done is I've pulled down the peaks and reduced the dynamic range. That's the difference between the loudest part and the quieter parts. And then I can bring up the entire track with what's called makeup gain. I can add this gain now because I made room at the top so I won't have clipping. Now that's how I can use a compressor to make things louder. Now another very common way to use a compressor is to automatically reduce the level of music to make room for the voice. This is used in broadcasting where the music is pulled down to make room for narration. This is also called ducking. In my mixing example today, I have a guitar track that is getting in the way of the vocal. So I want to pull down the level of the guitar every time the vocal kicks in and allow the guitar to cut through between the vocal phrases. This is very much like the ducking procedure used in broadcasting. Now I'm going to make this happen by using a sidechain input. Sidechaining is nothing more than using the output of one track to control the action of the compressor on another track. Now what I'm doing here is using the vocal track to trigger the compressor on the lead guitar track. So let's see how I set that up. So I have two tracks that I'm going to be working with, a lead vocal track and a lead guitar track. So I'm going to start with the lead vocal track, and I want to send this lead vocal track out to a bus that I can capture in a compressor on the lead guitar track. So I'm going to bus this out, this is the vocal track, to bus 25, and I renamed it Duck Lead Guitar. So there's the send that's going out bus 25. And I've set this at pre-fader. And the reason I did that is I want a consistent signal going to that compressor. So if I want to use automation on this lead vocal track, or if I want to adjust the fader, it's not going to affect what's going out to that compressor because it's pre-fader. So that's kind of important here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is go over to the lead guitar track, and I put the Renaissance compressor on there. So it doesn't matter what compressor you use, whatever DAW you use in any compressor will work. They all have a sidechain input. Now I'm in Pro Tools and they call it key input. And what I have for this key input is, again, bus 25. That's the vocal track, and I called it duck lead guitar. So that's the key input. So this compressor is only going to work now when the vocal kicks in. So let's start by listening to this track, and let me just play the lead guitar for you, and so you can hear what the kind of the dynamics of the lead guitar and what it sounds like. And then when it gets to the chorus here, you'll notice the vocals kick back in, and you'll see that signal coming from here, from this send, into this compressor, and then here's the compression amount. It'll be around 3 dB of compression here, and so you'll see how that works. So here we go. So you can see that my guitar player did a pretty good job playing between the vocal phrases, and I really didn't need it that much, but you saw the compression kick in and it pulled the guitar down a little bit. Now, when I get over here towards the outro after this lead, and when I get into this outro, you can see my guitar player starts right here, starts playing, and he played all the way through to the end of the song. And in some cases, really kind of was stepping on the vocals there. So this worked great right here in the outro. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute the send here so the compressor will not kick in, so you can see what this sounds like. You'll kind of see the problem that I had and then how this fixed it. So here we go. Listen to where he says, and you're playing it cool. See how the guitar is all over that? So what I'm going to do now is send this signal back to the compressor and watch the compressor work and listen for that you're playing it cool. So it's not like it got rid of lead guitar track, but it definitely pulled it down to where the vocal could sit better in the mix. Now, another common way to use this ducking technique is to put a compressor on your bass track and then use your kick as the sidechain input. So what happens is every time you get that attack from that kick, it pulls down the bass guitar. And this will make your kick a lot more punchier. It'll really punch through the mix. So be creative here. I'm sure you'll find all kinds of ways of using this side chaining technique to create better mix. So there you have it. Please comment and subscribe. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see y'all next time. Thanks for watching.